Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. Well, I am excited to deliver this recording to you. I say recording because this is an excerpt from a live stream that I did as I released this just a few days ago. But I wanted to get it out on the podcast too, because I never know how we're connecting. I don't know if any of you were listening to, well, there's only one of you in your car probably right now, or one of you washing your dishes, or one of you exercising. That's what people mostly do when they're listening to podcasts. I know that's what I'm doing. Anyway, well, I'll direct it to you individually. I don't know if you do catch when I'm live streaming on YouTube or Facebook, but that's what this has come from. And periodically, about twice per month, sometimes more frequently, do a multi-stream, and it goes to the Facebook group called the Light Shine Lab. It's so much more than a Facebook group, though it is a veritable community of spiritual seeking and fellowship. It's wonderful. So you do need to get into the Light Shine Lab if you aren't yet. It is founded by my best friend and business partner, Crystal Ann Compton. And then that live stream multi-streams out to like my YouTube channel and just other ways, other profiles and stuff on Facebook, and really Facebook and YouTube. But anyway, this one is timely. And I dare say that even if you aren't listening to it at the very time of when it is released, that I'll bet there is something in it for you anyway, because that's how synchronicity works. This is all about fairies and devas, specifically the ones who are stepping forward during this season. So I am releasing this in late December, right before Yule, right before the holidays, the Christmas holidays and New Year's and all of those wintry holidays in the Northern Hemisphere, summery ones in the Southern. But, I'm housed here, so I was channeling from the wintry Fae, if you will. And so this is really like an energy report in a lot of ways. And it is really an energy support report. It is me channeling information and, mediumistically, and also channeling the information about certain kinds of fairies, devas, and unicorns who are stepping forward to work with us at this time. It's kind of an intense time right now. I mean, there's a lot going on in society. There's a lot going on in life. And there is just a lot going on in nature as well. But nature is always available to us and understands that understands our challenges and wants to step up and help us even more. So this episode, I'm going to go ahead and just play it for you. It's part me listening at the time, part me having channeled the information a little bit in advance, but I'm learning it at the same time since I channeled it. And it is a fairy celebration. The Fae and Devic realm, they just love any opportunity to have our attention and to connect in joy and to co-manifest with us. And so in this, I teach and attune about magical realms of fairies and nature devas. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the word deva, it's D-E-V-A. It's referring to the overarching energies of the different elemental realms. So earth, air, fire, water. And that would be gnomes, sylphs, undines, and salamanders. I'm not sure if I said them in the same order. Gnomes are earth, undines are water, salamanders fire, and sylphs are air. And so they step forward with a description of who they are and what energies they are helping us with. And they're overseeing the nature and the spirit of Earth, but they are also working in galactic and universal cosmic energies for this season that we are in. And I also give live readings. And now the live readings is actually, I think there's only a handful at the end. And if you listen through to the live readings with your intention open and leaned in, they organize it knowing who is going to be showing up on the quantum timeline, which is, not linear. And there will be, there can be messages for all of us. I know there are messages for me. So without any further delay, I want to welcome you into the excerpt from this live stream, from my Magic Hour live stream, and I'll just have a chat with you on the end, on the other side. I brought through some information from the Fae and Devic realms, and it's gonna be really fun. And I encourage you to actually take notes. You might want to take notes, and because there's just a few points, like the names of certain fairies and devas that have stepped forward, and unicorns as well who are stepping forward. If you just want to jot those down, they would be for you to just maybe in your journal to reflect upon, to contemplate, to call forward if one of these or all of these happen to really, tug at your heart. In the intuitive intensive, which is about when it's a little more than a month away that we start, I do cover there's a lesson in that, and we have an on demand, of the fairy realm, the Devic realms, and we have an on demand class with it too, so you can check that out on our website. I love unicorns and fairies too. All right, so let's talk about these realms of nature, of creation, crystallization, and of spirit. And I have to bring up my notes because I did channel it. And when I channel something to notes, it doesn't really stick to my brain. I learn along with you. So let's do an overview of what this realm or these realms is really. There are inner planes or inner octaves of all of the particular realms and densities and dimensions. And you can hear my birdies. So the realm, and then fairies seem to get us really excited, get us really tickled. And I actually recently, they asked me if I would call myself a Fae Whisperer, and I'm like, okay, that sounds fun, because they're just so fun and silly. And so that is one of the I guess titles, or it's really invitations that I'm currently making, is Fae Whisperer. So the fairy realm is it includes the many inner working realms, kind of like the worker bees, but not in the way that we have that here on our planet. We think of the worker bee or the working, kind of people as we have this I don't know, we have this prejudice against it, like they're not as important or something like that. When in fact, there is great passion to all of the roles that we all play. And the Fae are quite proud and of their roles as the ones who are facilitating the manifestation. And then, so that's the fairy realm, and it does include, there are many terms that we kind of include in there, and in fact they're encouraging us to create new ones, to pen new ones, because we are really in newer and newer ages, if you will. I kind of hate the term new age because it's always been used in my lifetime pejoratively, and however, we are ever embarking upon new and more enlightened ages. That's just the nature of evolution, right? And we are closely approaching the return of I would say new Lemuria, but the return of Lemurians and the coalescence of our consciousness with this golden era. But I was going to say I digress, but I don't really. It's actually a part of this whole conversation with the realms of nature. And it's not just nature. It's really these frequencies of crystallization. So when we're talking devas, we are talking about the sort of the meridians of creation between the creation process, the immaterial or the non-material to the material. And that's what we're talking about in the realms between the non-physical and the physical. But we're also talking about the meridians or the pathways from the higher galactic and higher cosmic and universal perspectives of non-material or spirit to these other descending tiers into materialization, if you can visualize that. Devas are there. I mean, devas are as prolific as anything you can imagine. There is a deva for the tree in front of my house. There are devas who oversee each of the elemental categories: earth, fire, earth, fire, water, and air. There are devas that oversee things like certain species of animals or a certain flock or a clan of animals. So there's a deva for that. It's kind of like there's an app for that. There's a deva for that. And then there are also devas who are overarching, overlighting, let's say, the waters of the earth as well as the waters of Sirius in that pipeline of the crystallization or the materialization process. So that's what we're talking about when we are talking about the Fae and the Devic realm. So let's get into the types of energies of Devas and Fae realm who step forward for us at this time of our year 2021. I almost said 22. I'm like already in the next year. 2021, we are in December. We are very close to Yule, aka Christmas, also the solstice, and other holidays. There are so many different holidays that happen around this time. It is a powerful season, and it's what's kind of interesting is that whether you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere, because we're on opposite seasons, and yet we still have the same contemplative holidays. I mean, like they are shared across. There are people celebrating Kwanzaa here in the northern hemisphere where I am, and in the southern hemisphere, Yule in both places. Even though Yule was born of the witches and the pagans, mostly of the European area of older days. But anyway, because they are universalized, because we are a collective consciousness. And I mean both of those words, collected and collective consciousness. So while I am having a powerful, strong transition into a darker, a shorter expression of light, and my brothers and sisters in the southern hemisphere are experiencing a transition into a longer expression of light. This is what the different seasons are doing. Yet we come together on the pure frequency of transition and of becoming and of manifesting and creating. Now, I am probably going to mostly speak of who stepped forward from the orientation of the northern hemisphere, and that's simply because I live here. But I will leave some space open if anybody wants to ask a question to see how we can reframe that and flip that to the southern hemisphere. But I think you could probably, with your contemplative mindset, with the open meditative mindset, feel your way into the universal energy that lay beneath these seasonal energies. So let's dig right into it, shall we? All right. In the area of the earth element, we have stepping forward gnomes of abundance. This is how they identify themselves for us at this time through me, the channel, gnomes of abundance, and their wood elves. And so, as I said, the devas or the Devic realm, they are the overlighting energies, like the managers, the overseers. And then we have the realms and tiers of the Fae. And the Fae may include different words like elves, pixie, sprite, and so forth. And again, they've invited us to create new words, and I'm going to hold myself open to that. We'll see what happens. So in the area of the earth element, we have gnomes of abundance and their wood elves. And some of the key energies that these fairies and these devas are bringing forward for us is the energy of helping us with tasks, helping us to take action. You see that even though if we're in the cooler climate time where the light is getting shorter and shorter, that we seem to have equipped ourselves with a lot to do. Now, this is true of what we have manifested in this kind of lifestyle that we live, where we're having to shop and having to plan for parties and having to go to parties and send out cards and all the things that we do in our holiday time culture. But they also hearken us back to something that was more of an agrarian time. And there was a lot to do inside the home. There was a lot to do in the hearth, because as everyone needed to take shelter because there was less light and there were less tasks to do outside, there were more tasks to do inside, to be together, to make sure that everyone is properly serviced, to continue to put things up for the winter and to take them down for the sustenance at the time. So they say that even though this may seem like a modern adaptation of what we're doing now, that in fact it's always been this way, and that the earth energies are the ones who are minding us about these tasks. You see, gnomes and the earth element tend to have a reputation of being slower, more of a considering kind of energy, teachers, wise energies that sit like this. Or if you think about like in astrology, and the earth signs are always thought of as being slow or heavy or even stubborn, which those are just negative shadow words that aren't necessarily helpful. But in fact, all of the elements have the full spectrum of qualities of action to inaction, of quietude to something that would be very extremely active, including the earth element. And so as these gnomes of abundance and their wood elves step forward, they are the more lively types. They are helping us with action that is to be taken. And that includes action to be taken now for hearth, home, and survival, celebration and connecting, as well as looking forward as we take the calendar over to a new year and an eventual new season. And they're very lively and very action oriented. Now, gnomes and the earth elemental devas, and they do also. There is a sort of a classification. People think about them as, jovial, and they're very jovial. Gnomes in particular are jovial, even if they are the wiser teaching time kind that may be slower and watching the root of a tree grow. They are very lively. They embody a lot of energy, a lot of life energy, because in fact, in order to be the earth element, there is a massive crystallization process that has already taken its path. So in order to become a stone, one is that stone, we are the embodiment of a lot of creation energy in order to be that. So as they're telling me right now, as we humans sometimes feel so dense and so heavy and so, like weighed down by being physical, by being human, and we touch our soul energy to, Archangel Michael, and we think, oh, to be light and free and expansive and not be weighed down with this physical form and life. And they say, but in fact, you have so much of the lightness and freedom in order to have created your physical body. You have been the absolute epitome of the lightness, the freeness, and the expansiveness. And so this is what the earth element is here to teach us. This is what the gnomes of abundance and their wood elves are supporting us in. And so that is to say that as they are lively and they're helping us with tasks, taking action today and taking action for how we step forward into a future, they are also helping us with our energy resources, our reservoirs. We may feel extremely tired, and it might be appropriate because we didn't get enough sleep and we've been working too much and doing too much. But they say that even if you feel very, very tired, they may encourage you to move forward, to step it up. And they will give you like sort of this extra little reserve tank. I drive a Prius, and it's gas and electric, but it's a hybrid and electric. So I kind of remember how I hardly ever fill up with gas. But there's always there's like your gas tank. And then there's a secret little reserve. So you're like, oh, I'm at empty. But when it takes over to empty, I know I have 3 gallons left. There's that reserve. I try not to hang out in that reserve all the time. I try to keep the tank, abundantly full, but there is that reserve. And so they are helping us to tap that resource of the extra energy, meaning physical energy, emotional energy, spiritual energy, and mental energy. And so they say, have faith and in yourself, and have faith in the process of what we are co-creating. Now, they also pointed out to me that this is really cool, because you guys, I swear I just want to say I didn't think about this and then fill in the blanks. I channeled it, and then they said, oh, by the way, look at this. They said, this is why we have this myth of Santa's elves. That Santa's elves are actually the presentation of these wood elves, and I'll tell you why they're called wood elves in a moment, that the gnomes of abundance and their wood elves, who are these, actionable, working, creating and facilitating kinds of energies. They say that's why we created this myth of Santa's elves, who are the ones who were gleefully and joyfully creating for the innocent children of the world, for the beautiful children of the world. And so they encourage us in that mythological energy that is actually something that is very natural to us, and they are here to support us in that right now. And the reason that they are called wood elves is because, well, first of all, it was revealed to me that a guide that I work with, one of my elemental guides, his name is Franklin, and he is a wood elf himself, and he is of this tier of actionable energies who are in the Fae realm. And so my guide Franklin, the wood elf, he's very feisty, and he's very to the point. He's the one, if you've ever heard me tell the story, I'm going to repeat it, but some of you may not have heard it. He is the one who, when I was sort of out in my backyard, and it was around this time of year. Yeah. Oh, it was this time of year because my husband and I were just about to go to visit his family for Christmas, for the holiday in another state. And I was like, I don't know, feeling some kind of anxiety, something like that. So I was out in my backyard praying and meditating before we actually literally had to get in the car. And I was asking about manifestation. I was asking about creating prosperity and how do I do this? And I very clearly heard this guide who identified himself as Franklin, a wood elf. And I asked him if he worked with my gnome guide, whose name, or the name that we have between us, is Henry. And he's like, I work with Henry. He's like, I say, very direct, and even almost like I hear curse words because I use curse words. And so he's like, yeah, they're emphatic and you use them and I'm pulling them out of your head. So there you go. And he says like the F word and stuff. And so he shows up very clairaudient for me. And I'm asking about how to manifest. And he said to me, how can you ask for more when there are limes on the ground? And I have in my backyard a key lime tree. And this key lime tree, citrus is actually a fall and winter fruit, particularly like really winter, because that's how long it takes for it to become its most full, robust quality, but especially in a climate that I live in, which is a hotter and more deserty climate. I'm in Los Angeles. And so at this time of year, with the wind and with the whole pressure of the seasonal transitions from the heat to the cooler climates, and then the drying up causes the citrus to be its most fruitful and to fall to the ground, ready to be harvested. And so he said this to me, and this had a dual meaning. It was equally literal and metaphorical, because as one who oversees nature, he was literally saying, don't let those limes go to waste. There's only so much that the animals and the soil can consume here. And this is fruiting this way because it's among so many human beings. It's being provoked to fruit. This tree is being provoked to fruit this much because of all the human energy around it. And I live in a suburb, there's houses all around, humans all around. It's a very dense population. And so he said, how dare you ask for more when there are limes on the ground? You need to pick them up. You need to harvest them. You need to let them be utilized. Now, that was the literal meaning. And there was, at the same time, equally as pertinent, the energy that I felt of, I have resources I have untapped. I have built stores and stores of resources. And I'm sitting here with my cabinetry and now this is metaphorical again. My cabinetry full of fruit that I have put up, vegetables, of dried and cured meats, if we're thinking about an agrarian society. And I'm saying, when are the crops going to come? And they say the crops have come and they're waiting for you. And they're waiting for you to consume and also share with your family and neighbors. And so it made me refocus to my greedy reaching out. When is it going to show up to say, hey, I have a lot already. And I've already built structure. I've already built resources that are here for me to just dip into. Not even like, I mean, it's just here for me. And so, yes, in a way it's saying have gratitude, but it's also saying take action upon the resources that I have right now. Now, Franklin, as I said, he's a wood elf. He literally tends to that tree, and he tends to all of the citrus trees that are in a certain radius of my area. And he's also an overlighting sort of middle management kind of deva, but more still in the Fae realm, overseeing human consciousness along the lines of what that means as it concerns the growth of trees and fruiting trees especially. And so it helped me to refocus. Now in the back to the real life situation, then I'm finishing up my prayer and meditation, and I was so stricken and inspired by Franklin saying, how could you ask for more when you have limes on the ground? And my husband comes out and says, are you ready to go? And I had like picked up a bag, and I was like starting to pick up all of these limes. And my husband's like, honey, are you ready to go? And I'm like, yes, but I have to pick up these limes first. I have to pick them up because Franklin, my wood elf, told me to pick them up. And he's like, okay, honey, I'll help. Kind of like, is this the time we check her in, or are we still like in the range of like, it's, channeling inspiration? However, I explained it to him more fully as we got in the car to drive to his parents' house. And we still use that. It was probably 5 years ago. To this day, we still use this. There are limes on the ground. There are limes on the ground. So you see, when the plane of creation, when the action of co-creation, meaning you have interacted with the field, has produced, meaning your family and friends, meaning the stores that are available for you to both put away and to take out so that you can share them. When that has happened, that we're not meant to really keep receiving until we start to tap into the abundance that we already have. And what I did with those limes specifically, because I couldn't possibly consume them all, was I put them out in front of my house with a sign that said free. And there's a few, houses on the block that do that. And sure enough, my neighbor, when I returned, she was like, oh, wow, these limes are so delicious. I drink lime and lemon water all day long. And I'm like, you can knock your, she's like, I'll use all of these. I'm like, perfect. Let's do that. And so that's where we are. So there we go. And those are your gnomes of abundance and their wood elves. And let's talk about the unicorns that are working with these energies here. We have unicorns who exhibit the way that they're presenting themselves. And this is for, again, you to just take into your meditative space or your contemplative space. They're presenting themselves in fractals of certain holy rays, or the fractals of light. The rays are like the pieces of the one light. And so the unicorns who step forward in alignment with the earth element and in alignment with the gnomes of abundance and wood elves they exhibit as a very pale orange, peach, and salmon. So even if you want to take a breath, close your eyes and call to your awareness, visualize or imagine unicorns that fall in this color spectrum, this spectrum of the rays. And it's pale orange. So it's like an orange that is blended with white. And just what is that orange that you might be seeing? Is it a tangerine? Is it a carnelian mixed with white? And so the unicorn stepping forward, they are upholding this beautiful, enlightened emotional capacity. And also the sacral is what is an energy source. It is a resource, it is a motor center. And so they are fueling that which would be the root as the ones who are salmon colored, and sacral, which the ones who are pale orange and peach colored. And the peach color brings in some of the solar plexus energy too. And then the white that is infused to it is that source energy, the extra resource. You're able to resource additional energy, the reserve of energy. These are the unicorns who step forward, and unicorns are etheric beings who are ultra elementals, ascended animals, as they have once commingled with humanoids upon this planet and shall again in an even density spectrum, meaning that we will be overlapping in our densities. And for now, they exist on a spectrum of light and spirit that we are also a part of, yet it's not this material frequency. They cannot tolerate or they cannot exist in this dense frequency, but they are available to us in fullness and in everything except for the kind of flesh material that we are. But the light material that we are, they orient to us in that regard. And so those are our unicorns and our earth elements. And now for these messages.
Do you have a sense that there's more to life than what you can see?
Maybe you've had vivid spiritual dreams, experienced odd patterns and synchronicities, or even had hunches or premonitions that ended up being accurate.
You know there's more to this life, but at the same time, you feel blocked or stuck and like you don't even know where to start.
That's all about to change. Lightshine Spiritual Academy presents the Intuitive Intensive, a groundbreaking 8-week program designed to blast open your intuitive abilities and catapult you into a dynamic, connected, and psychic life.
Here's what graduates of the Intuitive Intensive have to say.
This program has been game-changing, life-changing.
There's no going back. I can't unsee all the things that I've seen. I can't unfeel all the things that I've felt. It's been life-changing, not just because of everything that I've learned, but everything that I've experienced.
Join spiritual teachers Crystal Ann Compton and Tricia Carr in this immersive program of education, high vibration, and group coaching.
I have found my purpose and my calling. I really came in to find myself, and that was one of the biggest gifts, is finding my true path.
Read all about the curriculum and register now by going to class.lightshineacademy.com/2022II. Class begins the week of January 23rd, 2022.
If you feel called to it, if it gets you excited in your heart, if it feels joyful, do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Okay, so there we go. That's our earth element. And next, stepping forward from the air element, we have blustery sylphs and their shadow fairies. Blustery sylphs and their shadow fairies. So the word blustery, this is referring to like a blustery wind, a wind that is swift and even maybe a bit embittered. It is sharp. It dries quickly. It creates an evaporation, and it causes us to release. You see, well, I'll tell you what the shadow fae are in a moment, but what this blustery sylph energy is, and sylphs are the overarching devas for the element of air. They are helping us to dry up intensified emotions, and they help us by this process to intensify the emotions that want to be dried up. So as something is evaporating, it becomes more concentrated. As a liquid is evaporating, it becomes more concentrated in its particle elements. So let's say if it is, what's something that would make sense? Oh, I don't know. Something that's like a sweet beverage. Kool-Aid came to mind, or something like that, If you left it out and it continued to evaporate, it would become darker and more concentrated, and it would become even sweeter, and it would even start to get like a film on top of it because it would start to crystallize and dry up. And so that's what these blustery sylphs are helping us to do. Water is the element. So this is a cooperative work with the element of water. Water is the flow of emotions and creativity. And so the blustery sylphs are sending us a strong spiritual wind to help us to allow that process of emotions that are intensified and need intensifying to be in our awareness so that we can pay attention to them. And then to actually cause us to go into self-care. Because if we are drying up, if we are dehydrating, if we're having intensified emotions, then we are directed to then turn to the element of water, turn to the element of emotion to bring in fresh water. I'm just realizing this right now. It's similar to how the Gnomes of Abundance are saying, we're going to help you to tap into fresh energy, that the reserve, the resource. And this is what the blustery sylphs are asking us to do, as they help us to dry up and get a little dehydrated, to reach for the self-care that we need, fresh emotion, pure emotion. But this is not done as a bypass to dump out the drying up of emotions, the intense emotions. In fact, it is done by moving through it and then reaching at the same time in tandem for that fresh energy. It causes that fresh flow of emotional energy, fresh energy from source. And now the shadow fairies. This is something I actually do teach it in the Work with Your Elemental Guides workshop. We have that on demand, and I'll see if I can grab that link. I'm in a flow right now, though. If anybody else has it, if anybody's here who knows how to find it, great. But anyway, the shadow fairy are a particular kind of fae that revealed themselves to me the very first time that I ever taught Work with Your Nature Elementals. Shadow fae are fairies who exist in the second density, and even sort of on the lower octave of second density. And what they do is they actually when we are moving through a powerful part of our shadow, where we may be processing trauma, grief, or hurt of some kind, a shadow fairy can partner with you to actually become the energy. It's a very codependent thing, but it's a natural process. It's like a martyrdom process. They will work with you to help you to feel what it is that is necessary and helpful for you to feel in order to process this bit of your shadow, in order to open it up and get fresh air and fresh water into it. And a shadow fairy will work with you, become the emotion, become the shadow, and then take it away for you and move it into the space of the inner planes for compostation. Now, this is in a sense like a death, but what they tell me is that it's more like the death of the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Because you see, when the caterpillar is in its chrysalis, or his or her chrysalis, and then they must, in order to become a butterfly, they actually disintegrate every single molecule. They become a goo. This is not a creature kind of substance, but they disintegrate absolutely every part of their physical being. And then from that, they become the butterfly. If you've ever seen a caterpillar and you've seen a butterfly, these things look like really different creatures. And so this is what the shadow fairies process is. It is the caterpillar taking itself and identifying with the shadow of a human. And they say this is a process in other beings. It works the same, but it's it's unique to the particular being, species, energy, whatever you might call it. And they identify to it, and then they take it away. But they can only do it with our full cooperation, with our full commitment to the process of understanding the shadow and releasing it. And so they take it into the light, or they really take it into the inner planes of Gaia and allow it to be composted and then changed back. And their being actually is the vehicle for it. And this is a process that Fae will go through in order to move to a next expression of their being, like the caterpillar to the butterfly. So these are the shadow Fae. So how can you call them forward? Well, if you are feeling there is a shadow aspect to work with, sometimes they like to work with you when there are tears uncried. They would like to help you to know that if you are working with releasing trauma, that crying, and of course, extreme, laughter can help to shake it out of the body. And this is what shadow Fae can do. They can help us to pull it out of the body. So as these blustery sylphs are drying it up, bringing it to our awareness, intensifying the emotions, then we sit down and we deal with it. And if you do something like crying or sobbing so that you can draw in that fresh emotional energy, They say do it with in mind that you are having compassion for how you have been victimized, but they would like us to not indulge ourselves and continue to identify with victimhood. So they say stay with the energy of being a victim in the sense of fully expressing it, but you're really you want to be working from your full being, from your higher mind observing your inner being. And so you know that you're moving through this, and we don't want to move too quickly so that we bypass, and we also don't want to indulge. And we know if we're indulging, if we are starting to blame and shame, whether ourselves or another. Now, if we're in that for a moment, we just keep going. We don't stay there. We don't stop there. If we feel blame or shame, we just go, okay, come on, this is helping me. This is helping me to move forward past blame and shame. And so that's how we'll know if we're indulging or if we are expressing and releasing. We're indulging if we choose to stay with victimhood, and that usually feels like blame or shame. And then, but if we can move through those, then we are moving toward the release. And the shadow fairies, this is such an intense process because our trauma is stored in our physical bodies. And so when we have a physical release of it with sobbing or maybe laughing, maybe the tearful laughing and crying, then it will help to jostle it out of our bodies as well as our spiritual bodies, our physical bodies as well as our spiritual bodies. And so another, there can be ecstatic dance, and I, run. And when I met my shadow fairy, I was on an intense hike, and then I started sobbing. So, using the physical body really helps this process. Okay, so the unicorns who are working with the element of air, with the blustery sylphs and their shadow fairies, these unicorns present as white, kind of, it's a very illumined white. Unicorns are light beings, white, but with a golden mane. And I'm seeing a golden mane from a rich gold to a pale white gold. So, maybe your unicorn may be having all of those with blended colorings, or maybe it's one or the other, but that's who is stepping forward at this time. I'm seeing many different ones. And interestingly, these unicorns wanted to show me that their eyes are a white gray color. So they're really looking at, into our souls with their eyes. So that's the potent unicorn energy that steps forward with the sylphs. Okay. Oh, I missed that's interesting. I accidentally skipped over, and the way that my notes are written, I skipped over the undines, but I guess I didn't skip over it. So the undines, these are the devas of the water element, and the undines and the water energies who step forward, they are calling themselves undines of crystallization, and they're ice fairies. They're ice fae. Undines of crystallization. So in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in a transition process, and where the water is turning to ice. And there is a chill in the air and on the ground and in the bodies of water. And the water is actually turning to it's coming to the brink of earth element, but in fact, it's still water element, but it gets as close as it can to earth element. And so the crystallization process is the process of materialization, of something manifesting into reality. And so these are the undines who step forward of crystallization. So yes, we can think about ice and the process of going from liquid to ice, and the bringing the temperature lower and bringing the temperature to a point where it creates more density. And then think about it metaphorically too, because these are cosmic devas, galactic devas, who are overseeing those meridians of all of those tiers of spirit becoming physical. And these are fifth dimensional. These particularly are fifth dimensional, and also working in these deeper inner realms in order to trigger that crystallization. You see, our physical bodies are just crystallized spirit, crystallized light. We are a very profound crystallization or manifestation of light. And so that's what these undines are helping us to orient to, again, from a fifth dimensional, but also more like Russian nesting dolls, also into the 3D and into the inner planes. And they are teaching us about patient and refined creation. You see, when something is freezing and crystallizing, when water freezes, the longer it takes for that temperature to tick down, the cleaner the ice will be. Did you know that? Have you ever noticed I have one of these freezers where the ice comes out like really, really white, totally opaque. You can't see through it. And I don't use it at all because it's terrible. Even though it's filtered water, like that's terrible ice. I was a mixologist before. So it's like, if there's inclusions in the ice, if it's like frosty, I mean, there's a little bit of frostiness, it's okay. But what that literally is impurity. So the reason like that ice that comes out of my freezer, they're these little, like, I don't know, they're like that shape. And they come out like this crusty, like white color, is because they freeze that ice so fast that there isn't time for the impurities to escape. There isn't time for the ice to become refined or the water element to become refined. It's basically a reverse distillation process. And so these undines of crystallization are teaching us patience. Patience leads to refinement, leads to a pure, more potent, more aligned creation. And they're ice fairies. These are just really the worker fairies who are helping us they're saying they actually help us to lift our spirits to become more patient. Because you see, when we are impatient, it's because we have an attitude of basically non-presence. And so they're saying that these ice fairies help us to, and they're ice fairies, what they're calling it, but they're all of these tiers of that crystallization process. So even though technically she's an ice fairy, she may be more watery because she's in 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and then another one is at 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and another one is at 17 degrees Fahrenheit, metaphorically speaking. And they are working with us in the whole process. And they really help us with our attitude. They help us to lighten up. They help us to be patient. They help us to divert our attention from the bullshit that we are paying attention to, and allow us to just become present and also hopeful for the forthcoming, crystallization process. That's really awesome. And thank you. I'm like saying thank you to them because I'm like, I need that right now. Okay, the unicorns who step forward with the undines, with the element of water. These unicorns are ice blue. Oof, so beautiful. Can't you just see them? If you watch, I just watched March of Penguins. Oh my gosh, I said it with my Texas accent. March of Penguins. Words that I don't say very often. Sometimes it slips back into my Texas accent. And I do not use the word penguin very frequently in my California life. Anyway, March of Penguins. And, it's in Antarctica, and, the ice it's white, but it's this beautiful blue as well, like in the depths of it. So that's what these unicorns are. Again, this is a white that is blended with source light blue. Excuse me. It is blue that is blended with source light white. And the blue then is of the throat chakra. It is of the third eye. And so it could have any of these qualities. And this is indicating us to be, patient and to have a pure vision. And then also to sometimes be silent and be, calm and in our energy about our expression. And yet also planning and refining. And they're also stepping forward as a pearlescent white. Oh, so beautiful. So the pearlescence is like the moon in her brilliant emotional stage, maybe not quite the full moon, maybe a little shyer of full moon, but because sometimes full moon can look very golden. Well, it depends. But anyway, you'll feel your way into it. But really, it is the ripening of emotions. And then also, so we've got 3 different colors. They showed me ice blue, pearlescent white, and they showed me violet blended with white. And so the violet blended with that white, really kind of like the pearlescent white, is like the crown chakra and the pulling in of the energies for the creation and the crystallization process. I'm looking at your comments now. Frozen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, finally, we have our fourth element. And these are the salamanders. The Devas who oversee the fire element are salamanders, and they step forward with the words, the name, the title, the categorization that they are salamanders of prayer, peace, and release. Salamanders of prayer, peace, and release. They didn't really give me a specific name for the Fae that would be working with them. But right now, they're telling me that probably many of you would orient to pixies. And they say that these are sort of like sparks of the flames of the fires. And that's what these pixie illuminations. But essentially, the Fae that work with the salamanders of prayer, peace, and release are, I mean, they're multi-layered, and they're just working in this process with us. So salamanders of prayer, peace, and release, they are helping us to contain the warmth of the creative energy for hearth, helping it to both service us and to help us to rebuild. So they're showing me they're showing me two things. They're showing me like the fire in the home that is keeping us, alive because we need the heat because it's too cold outside. It's also what we use to cook and to purify the food, make sure that when we cook something, it's because we want to make it edible. But they are comparing that to the solar plexus energy. And they are asking us to have an awareness of the solar plexus and your personal sun, and have it in your awareness as a contained energy. Not because you aren't sharing it, but essentially that it helps us to make sure that it is really robust and potent and useful. And you can welcome people into your energy the way that you would welcome someone into your home to sit by your fire and to partake of your food. But we want to do it with this place of letting the fire build itself. And then you may take inspiration from the way that those fire pixies are releasing. When a flame sparks like that, there is the air that has come into contact with it with a particle or some wood or something, and then there is an explosion. It's like a mini explosion, and that helps us to release. And so the gentle releasing from this powerful warmth of identity and of creative power that's contained. This is also a way for us to authentically connect, because once again, we are going to build up our own will, power, identity, warmth, hearth, and then we are going to genuinely allow others into our energy and then partake of their energy too. So it's about connection as well, but rebuilding connection rather than like buzzing around all like, what's been happening? I don't even know, like to having it come back to the center of your will, of your I am energy. It also leads us into generosity, because once again, if we build up this hearth, this fire, this I am energy, then we have enough to share, sort of like the limes on the ground with the abundance gnomes. It helps us to then have our cups so full, or our hearth so aflame, that we can share. The unicorns who step forward with the fire element, these are unicorns who are presenting with the ray that is an orange brown. And I'm seeing, and I actually have a unicorn deck, and I think it has a picture of a unicorn that's like this sort of orange and brown all blended together, and like some of the parts of it blended really beautifully one to another, not patchy. And like if the light catches it, it's like a rich orange, and then there's like a deep dark brown. Also black unicorns. And so this is nurturing. This is divine feminine. This is the yin energy. And you're invited to spend some time with the goddess or ascended master energy or the divine mother energy that does nurture you and soothe you. and recognize that as you do spend that time with her, she is you and you are her. And so you are taking care of yourself in this way. This is a part of like sitting by the fire, taking care of yourself. And so we have the black unicorns, the orange and the brick orange and brown. They particularly want me to say brick orange and brown. And then also another unicorn who steps forward is presenting with a ray that is a heathery gray color. It's a heathery gray. So heather is, maybe it's a little bit lavender, but it's very gray. And they're showing me that it's kind of like the soot. It's like it's what remains after you have purified. And that is a powerful, it's a powerful mineral to begin again and to support yourself. And so these are the unicorns who step forward with these energies. Okay. Well, again, if you, maybe I'll put these notes, they'll be a little bit jumbled, but I'll put them I'll put them on my YouTube channel in the replay in the description as after I've actually posted this. Okay. How are you guys doing? You can feel a burning in your belly, solar plexus fire, Sagittarius. Oh my gosh. Yes. Sagittarius. Get a Sagittarius in your belly. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of my Sagittarian friends whose birthdays are coming right now. Okay, guys, I'm going to look at what some of your comments are here. And then if anybody would like to, what time is it? I should say the only reason I'm looking, well, do we do a couple, a few readings here. Once again, the questions would be selected by spirit for us all to receive something, some kind of attunement, some kind of direction. So we are all here sharing and cooperating. And what's really cool actually is to sit back when someone else is getting that reading, that attunement, that channeling, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was for me. I am so known. Anyway, did you see my fairy necklace? Let's see. I can show it to the camera a little better. Yeah. So if you would like reading, some insight, I have a bunch of beautiful little cards here. Decks of cards, I mean. So pop something in there. It can be, do something a little bit more than general. Give it an area, give it a question, give it a little qualification, because that's going to make it something that will, help us to dig into it. A general reading is going to bring a very general answer. Alicia, penguins. That's right. Alicia's making fun of my accent. Maybe you're not making fun of it. I was making fun of it. The distillation process. Yes. How does the shadow fairy, here, let me see what Barbara's asking a question. How does the shadow fairy interact with our dreams, or do they? Ooh, that's a wonderful question. Let me feel into that. Let me ask them about this. How do shadow fairies, do they interact with our dreams? So they say that they lay a bit dormant in our dreams. They witness and this is so interesting. Take what resonates and leave the rest. But they're showing me like a Greek play. And they're showing me that that shadow fae, while we're sleeping, will sort of be like the chorus. Okay, oh my gosh, this is crazy, you guys. So what they do in our dreams and in the astral is they sort of stoke the emotions. So if you know about ancient Greek theater, the Greek, theater, there was a chorus so there was like a persona, the lead actor, and they had on these huge masks, and they would be giving a soliloquy. And of course they had to belt it out because we didn't have, it was in a Greek amphitheater. There weren't, oh gosh, it's so funny. I just got a reading the other day and she told me about ancient Greece, and now it's like making sense to me. Anyway, so belting it out in the amphitheater, and we didn't have amplification. So they amplified and they wore these big masks. And that's where the word person comes from, because the persona was wearing the costume of a being, of an image. And they were projecting something. It was just the interface. But anyway, there was the one, but then there was a chorus who was basically kind of like the hype men, they would like be very, like they would, get very tragic and demonstrative. So this is what they're showing me, that in dreams, in astral, the shadow fae will come up and they sort of become these pure, potent, all of the colors of the emotions. So if it's sadness, and there is a shadow fae who is being abject sad, your flavor of abject sadness, and then there is another one who is being anger, and there's another one who is being solemnity, and they express these, and they sort of like, and okay, thank you. So they're giving me the image of, it's like they're empaths, basically. Shadow fairies are the ultimate empaths, but aligned in the sense that this is what their job is meant to be. But did you see Minority Report, and how, my husband and I always joke about how basically I am those, because I'm a reflector. And I said, one day you're going to find me. You're going to come home and I'll be like trembling in a shallow pool of milk and going like, don't go home, So, but you remember in Minority, if you haven't seen the film, watch it, but I'm sorry if you're not getting the reference. But how the oracles, or whatever they were called, when they would be seeing a vision, and they basically would channel it, and they'd be like, don't go home. So that's what these shadow fae are doing. They're embodying, in a sense, but not physical bodies, but light bodies, the emotions, to intensify them so that you can bring them out into your waking life and help to process the shadow. I hope that imagery made some sense to you guys. And if it didn't, let me know. Okay, let's see. I got one here. Okay. Stephanie says, I would love some insight on the career prospects. I've been meaning to go out on my own for a long time, but I've always felt like the timing is never right, or I doubt myself. Okay. So we want to, okay, thank you. So they're telling me to pull you a unicorn card because you're actually in the place, Stephanie. I don't know why I love it's like your name is Stephanie Field, but I feel like I want to call you Strawberry Fields. So, but they're telling me that basically you're at the end of the cycle of this concern about it, so you're just wrapping up a cycle of patterning, of like feeling and thinking and seeing in your reality that you're not out on your own, as you said, with the career. So they say this doesn't come without a challenge, but it basically taking a leap will be a very supported leap, because in reality you will be good, you'll be fine. You may be making, let's say, a little less money, but that's just because you're learning how to make money in the new configuration of your job. But your work that you're doing, but you'll be good, you'll be fine. And actually there's a great gift in, as you go independent, and as you need to reorient yourself to resourcing independently rather than resourcing from someone else, that you'll instantly be able to be committed to it, and it will help you to kind of dig into those places where you manifest more independently. Now, they say independent manifestation is never truly, it's not like being an island. You will create partners rather than having bosses. And so it's not something that is done totally isolated when we are entrepreneurs or independent career people. And so basically they say, so they wanted me to pull a unicorn card because, and here's your card showing up right now. Feels like it might be, nope, it's just the one. Okay. They say that they want to help you. They want a unicorn step forward for you because unicorns sort of help you to just have this pure hope and almost like ride the wind with belief. And beliefs are stronger than the beliefs that you had, where you're aware that they're beliefs, but you're operating from higher mind. You're operating from the master of the beliefs, the ones who are saying, I created this belief and I'm using it now. And, but it's the unicorn step forward to give you that inspiration, to pump you full of inspiration and to help you to have a trajectory. And so they say, do the action that is available to you. Look at the things that we talked about today, the actionable gnomes, and then, but also trust in synchronicity. They say it's important for you to attune to and trust to synchronicity and surprises, because if we aren't really attuned to it, we could think that something happening is an error or a problem rather than an opportunity. And so it's actually a really good thing. They say it's hard for humans to see that we're finished with a pattern until we have the opportunity to stop acting in it. Thank you. So they tell me to give us the example. We've all been through breakups. We've all probably had a few partners who were the same. We've dated the same we attracted a similar kind of pattern in a partner a few times, whether it's casual dating or more serious dating. And then, in order to break that pattern, we may think like, I'm not going to date anyone for a while. And even if you haven't had this, I think we can all relate to it. I'm not going to date anyone for a while. And so you have this moment of this period of being solo, single, and you're like, I'm not going to date anyone because I'm sick of like who I'm attracting. Not that it's their fault, but I'm sick of the issues that I'm connecting and co-creating with these partners. So you're alone. And then you're like working on yourself. And then it's like before you don't really know that you've shifted out of that pattern until you start a new relationship, which doesn't even need to be one that's long-term. It can be just like showing up and you're on a date and you're like, I feel different. I don't feel like the way that I used to feel on dates. And that's cool. So that's the metaphor they're using for the moving from non-independent work to independent work. Okay. Action. That's awesome. That's my ring light. Action. That's so cool. So yes, take action on that. And it says, now is the perfect time to act. Take inspired action toward your dreams. Move forward with confidence. So these unicorns are pumping you full of confidence. And just even meditating on confidence. Meditate on confidence because it is there. That is a frequency. It is a living word. It is like the fractal light of colors, like blue is a fractal of the one light. Confidence is a fractal of source energy, of love, of that highest energy. It is an alive and living guide, and it is there to counsel you. I hope that was helpful, Stephanie. Where's my water? Getting dry-mouthed. You've been seeing a lot of synchronicities. Great. So the universe is offering it to you. All right. Let's see. Show me who's next. Let's see. It looks like let's see. Is this a question? I'm going to hit it. Okay. This is Christy. I would love a message from the fairies. My birthday is coming. Winter solstice. How wonderful. Oh, what a blessing you are. I have I'm being drawn to my Atlantis deck. Can you guys see my Concon? He's this little silver mass right here. Wait, I'm having a hard time drawing a circle around there. I'm doing it now. Little silver mass right there next to the green pillow. Okay, so birthday. This is Christy. Message from the Fae. Okay, well, you have a lot of green fairies around you. They are a kind of lime green, and they have like a white. It's like they're green auras with a white core. So who are you, and what are you telling me about, Christy? Okay, so they're telling me about abundance. I don't know if you are moving into a personal year of 8, but there's abundance that you're ticking over to. And they say they want us to remind us about prosperity, that prosperity is, we tend to frame it as money. That's what we think about. But in fact, prosperity is a holistic energy, that you aren't prosperous if you have a lot of money and you're exhausted or you're emotionally beat down or you live or you're working in a way that's inauthentic. They say that, thank you. They're showing me that like a new kind of prosperity that naturally moves you into a role of charismatic leader, compassionate, charismatic, authentic leader. And this you have this alignment with the solstice for your birthday, and it is a powerful opportunity. Here's a card for you to activate this. And they say, just be mindful of it. You don't need to do anything. You can do a ritual if you like, if that helps you with your mindfulness, with the shifting of, okay, so they're telling me open your heart. And it's not that your heart is closed or anything, but they're saying specifically this is being offered to you, this frequency. And they say there's no way for you to miss it, really, because the leading up to it has been for so long and has so much momentum, but they want to celebrate it with you. I mean, they want to play like fairies do. So if you open your heart, then you'll get to experience the deep delight with them. I see 7 of them around you. And this leads me to the 7 sisters of Pleiades. And so these are interdimensional Pleiadian fairies. This means that they exist here, and they also work in the Pleiades, and they sort of like transdimensionally travel between the two, but they love to spend time here. And there's portions of each of their 7 energies, partially here and partially in the Pleiades at any particular time. So they're never completely absent from either here or in the Pleiadian space. This is interesting. I've never heard this. Okay, so creative expression is your Atlantean card. There we go. Creative expression. Okay, the number is 17, which comes out to 8, as I said. I don't know if you're in a personal 8 year, but you got 8 energy around you. Even if you don't have personal 8 year, it's still you have 8 momentum and prosperous energy around you. So, excuse me, that's the 8 energy. The 17, I love 17 because my birthday is March 17th. But anyway, the 1 energy is leadership, and it's also the source number. So it's like the I am number, and the 7 is the spiritual number. So, oh gosh, and we had the 7 Pleiadian fairies around you. So I think that's all pretty aligned. Okay, so creative expression. It says in the golden times, the Atlanteans loved to express their creativity through art, music, and making beautiful things. They put their hearts and souls into their creations, knowing that the more they poured into them, the more love would radiate out from whatever they had fashioned. Although they had the power to manifest objects, they preferred to make them and derived great satisfaction from creating simple and unique pieces. This enabled them to enjoy the senses and helped them to develop their right brain. And the guidance says, be individual. Your guidance is to do or make something creative. However you express this, you are called on to channel your divine energy into the unique, beautiful, harmonious, and original. Take this opportunity to develop all your senses. Create something unique and satisfying. Ooh, prosperity is satisfying, isn't it? Well, connect with those fairies, those Pleiadian / Earth fairies. I got chills all over my head. It tickles. It tickles. Thank you, Christy. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Yes. 38 weeks pregnant. Quite anxious about when the baby will arrive. Very excited, but also nervous. Open to any uplifting message. Oh, I know. I don't know if there's any other way around it at 38 weeks, is there? We are going to pull you a card from the Sacred Geometry Activations by Lon. Oh, I want to have her. I keep meaning to invite her on my podcast again because she has a new deck out called Modern Merlin Magic, I think, which is so weird because if you're in the Mystic Arts Academy, you know that like 2 months ago, I did a class called Modern Merlinian Magic and Ascended Alchemy. And Lon hadn't announced her card deck yet. So we are having like the simultaneous creation. All right. So I don't see it doesn't have your name, but I'm going to ask about the 30 weeks pregnant friend. Everything's going to be great. You are going to be delighted by the birth date that your child has picked, and surprised and delighted. And so throat chakra. Throat chakra is your card. That's the 5, which is change. And it says the frequency of the throat chakra, the blue flower of life, supports our self-expression and our sense of peace and balance. So I think the important words in this, peace and balance, it's really, balance is incredibly challenging when you are 38 weeks pregnant or, 50 weeks pregnant, meaning like that 4th trimester, as they call it colloquially, because it's, it's a lot. And so balance is actually kind of like your full-time job, if you would. And so the way that you access that balance is through finding peace And it's the throat chakra. I mean, we have the 5 and the change energy and the flower of life, which is what you are right now. The throat chakra is the energy through which is the energy center through which all of the other energies flow in order for creation to happen. It's like, in a sense, it's like your birthing canal. And so that is what you're doing. You are building up the balance and the peace so that you can deliver this expression. Oh, how beautiful. And so you are being encouraged to be able to, continue to anchor in your sense of self, because your identity is one with your child's now and will be for at least the first 3 or 4 months, and possibly up to the first 6 months, until the child starts to move a little bit and the sacral chakra is developed. And so just an encouragement that part of the balance is to find that center. And when you find peace, then you found your self-expression individuated, even though you are still one with your child. So peace and balance are your mantras right now. Oh, my birdies just got excited. Well, I hope that was helpful. Well, guys, let me see. I'm going to just remind you about the Intuitive Intensive, everyone. So the Intuitive Intensive registration is open now. Let's see. There we go. Oh, my goodness. The Intuitive Intensive is a groundbreaking, life-changing, up-leveling program. Crystal and Compton and I established this program. The first time we did it was in 2018. And it's an immersive program, education and group coaching. And we've shifted it this year where we've refined it, sort of like that crystallization process with what were the endines? See, that's what I'm telling you. I learned it at the same time as you. Of crystallization, the endines of crystallization, so that we are making the commitment a bit easier, where we are doing an overlap of the coaching and the classes. And we just, we keep refining it. So we're very excited about it. It's an 8-week program. You will have the fellowship, which is such an important part of developing yourself spiritually, intuitively, your psychic abilities to live a life that is powerfully potently psychic. Now, when we say psychic, we mean holistically. We mean that one must be personally developed in order to also use their spiritual energy in the way that is in alignment with themselves. So there is personal development built right in. It's baked in. It's baked in goodness. So truly, I invite you to check it out and join us. There are payment plans available. We have the early bird, as this is being live streamed, early bird pricing is available, and it's right there, class.lightshineacademy.com/2022. Here, I'm going to see what this says. This is from Natasha. I was wondering how to tell the difference between messages from your guides and your own imagination. Images come to me, but they are soundless, only feelings. How can you know the difference? Well, your guides are you, and you are your guides. So if they are messages, if they are helpful, if they are beneficial, then that is from spirit, God, guides. Yeah. If it is your inner critic, then that's fantasy. If I'm saying, oh, I'm dumb, lazy, or whatever, that's not my guides. No. That is my shadow. That is what I've absorbed. That is negative conditioning that I've received. That is something for me to release. But if it is positive, creative, supportive, blissful, anything along those lines. Now, sometimes we can get tough love from, see, here's the thing. Our guides, like I say, they are us and we are them. And our higher self is indistinguishable from spirit guides. It is, except for the fact that when it's kind of like just a higher self or something like that, it may not be necessary. It's because it's not really necessary for a particular, identity to step forward and say, hey, I'm Mother Mary, it's when one of those particular personalities will help us. Now, they're pointing me to the fact that, for example, we can self-soothe if we need support. And in fact, we only ever receive support when we do self-soothe. We have cooperative partners in that. I might run to the arms of my husband or my best friend, but I can reject their offering entirely. I can reject their hug. I can reject their kind words, their words of wisdom, their words of support, of logic, whatever is going to be helpful, encouragement. And I can reject it and still choose my inner critic instead of my inner truth. And they are just being authentic reflections of my inner truth. So it's really no different. It's called resonance, is the reason why we use this word. Resonance means two energies forming and fusing to be a third energy or a more holistic energy. So your guides are you. Really what it comes down to is if it is helpful, beneficial, loving, and supportive. But I was about to say that, yeah, and sometimes that can be tough love. Like Franklin's saying, how can you ask for more? Oh, when there are limes on the ground. I mean, I didn't feel abused or at all. I was like, yes. It was like someone just reminded me of the thing that I had forgotten. I was like, of course, thank you. You know what I mean? But he said it to me in a really direct way. So directness does not mean, negativity or mean, not at all. Directness can be very helpful and exactly what we need sometimes, like my husband one time, he was going to, this is before he met me, and he was seeing a counselor, and he was telling this counselor, this therapist, like, my mom is driving me crazy. Like, she's so up in my dating life and asking me and like always nagging me and talking to me and being in my relationships. And the therapist just looked at him and he said, are you a man? And basically, are you a grown-up? Then you wouldn't want to have your mom in your relationships. He said it, and my husband was just like, I am a grown-up. And it was just like, that's right. I just need to tell her to stop. I need to have boundaries, Anyway, so that's what it is. If it's a particular guide whose identity will help you in receiving the message and receiving that particular quality of support and light, then there you go. But the fact is that when I'm walking around communing with guides and channeling, it's like a chorus of energy. And I do feel it a little bit distinctive from just my meandering thoughts, but that's because it kind of shows up as a supportive energy in a particular color that helps me to recognize it. You know what I mean? Like epiphany, inspiration. But there's all kinds of shades of that. And your guides or your higher self will be gentler with you sometimes so that you can have the empowerment of releasing your negative thoughts and your inner critic and gently soothe yourself into what it is that you would want to be aligned with in your thoughts and feelings. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. How do I undo that? Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to put this up one more time. That's class.lightshineacademy.com. Check it out. That is the Intuitive Intensive. And I had the most fun with you guys. Get into working with your nature spirits, your elementals, your devas, your fairies. So as we sign off, like I said, I will post this in the description, but I'm just going to run down just the names of the devas and fae that step forward at this time. We have gnomes of abundance and their wood elves, undines of crystallization and their ice fairies, blustery sylphs and their shadow fairies, and salamanders of prayer, peace, and release. And then they also said fire pixies. And then the unicorns on a separate page here we have in the earth arena, we have unicorns who are pale orange, peach, and salmon. In the water element, unicorns who are ice blue, pearlescent white, and violet blended with white. In the air element, unicorns who are white with golden manes and with white gray eyes. And then in fire element, we have unicorns who are brick orange and brown, black or heather gray like soot. Okay, there you go. How do you feel about those unicorns? Oh, I'm so excited about the unicorns. They are wonderful. And they really, children see unicorns and love unicorns, and that there is there's no silliness or coincidence or frivolity about it. It's because these are angelic, etheric beings, and they are here for us. And I just love exploring the different kinds of unicorn energy that are available. Of course, all of the others as well. Well, with that, I want to bid you a wonderful end of this year, beginning of the next year, a wonderful Yule, and a wonderful whatever holy day that you celebrate, because I like the idea of it being a holy day, because the word holy means holistic. It means to come together, where the sum of the parts are even greater than the whole, or together the whole is made up of all of the parts. And so these holy days, they allow us to come together and become whole within and whole without. And so I wish that upon you. I pray so many blessings over you and your life. I'm so grateful to be connected to you, so grateful that you are here, that you're listening. Perhaps you are sharing, perhaps you are, leaving a review, but I'm just grateful that you're here with your ear chakras and your third eye and your heart. Really, I'm truly blessed by you. And I have a lot of, I think, very exciting things coming up with this podcast, but with my whole work, and also with our Light Shine Academy. Crystal Ann Compton and I. Light Shine Academy has so much stuff coming up next year, and it's just wonderful. And I pray that this time of year finds you comfortable, blessed, and abundant. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.